Hello world, welcome to today's video. So in the previous video, we solved a challenge where we converted our hexadecimal values to RGB values, right? So in today's challenge, we are going to do the exact opposite of that. We are going to take in RGB values and then convert them to hexadecimal values. All right, so let's just go through the question. So the RGB function is incomplete. Complete it so that passing in RGB decimal values will result in a hexadecimal representation being returned. Valid decimal values for RGB are 0 to 255. Any values that fall out of range must be rounded to the closest valid value. All right. So your answer should always be 6 characters long. The shorthand with 3 will not work. All right. So the following examples are the expected output values. All right, cool. So what we are given is your RGB values, and then we need to convert that to your hexadecimal values, right? So first, what we need to do is, if you notice here, they say any value that falls out of that range must be rounded to the closest valid value, meaning that if any of these values are lesser than 0, then it needs to be rounded to 0. And if it is greater than 255, then it needs to be rounded back to 255. So let us just write that down over here. So if R or G or B is less than 0, then R or G or B should be equal to 0, right? And or if R or G or B is greater than 255, then so if it is greater than 255, then R or G or B should be equal to 255, right? So that is one of the things. So next, what we need to do is, after we check this, what we need is a 6 character long. So how do you convert a decimal to an hexadecimal? So in the last video, we saw that to convert from hexadecimal to decimal, we use something called as parse int, where we have the string value over here along with the radix value, right? So if you need to do it for, say, for example, from a decimal to hexadecimal, sorry, from hexadecimal to decimal, then you pass the radix as 16 and you pass the number as a string, right? So something like this. If you pass that, then this will be converted, or say, for example, F, right? This will be converted back to a decimal. To do the other way around, where you need to convert the decimal to a hexadecimal, you use toString method, where you will pass 16 as the radix, right? Like that is what we want. We want something that is a decimal string over here. We need to convert that to our hexadecimal value. All right, so that is one of the things. So let's just keep this over here and let's just start off with this, right? Now, how do we check if R or G or B? What you can do is you can simply use an if else loop and do it for every value, right? So let's just do that. If R is less than 0, then we say R equal to 0, right? Else, we need to say else if R is greater than 255, then we make R equal to 255. And we need to do the same for G and B. G and B. Now, instead of doing this, because we are doing the same things for 3 values, what we can do is we can pass a function, right? Let's just do this now, and later we can worry about whether or not we will create the function or not, right? Where we can perform the same values. So let's just see this. R, G, and then here goes B, right? Yep. So now we have rounded off the values if it is not in our range. So this step is done, right? Now this step where we need to convert it into the string. So let's just see we need to have a variable, right? Because we need to return a string at the end. So let's just declare a variable called as hex, which we will have it as an empty variable for now. Now what we need to do is we need to convert this and then append it to our hex. So now R is a number type, and then we need to convert this to toString, and then we need to convert that to the hexadecimal value, and then we need to store it in our hex. Let's just console log our hex to see what exactly we are getting. Console log hex. Let's just test this out. Console dot log. We are getting 0, but they expected 2. Why? What is the value of R? We should be getting 2 zeros, right? Okay, so R is 0. So yeah. So if something is 0, then that is a problem, right? How do you solve that? Okay, so if R has only 1 digit, then you're only going to get 1 value over here, right? You need 2 values essentially, because you need 2 hexadecimal values. And remember, they in the instructions have specified that your answer should always be 6 characters long and not the shorthand, form, right? So what we can do is, if R dot toString dot length is not equal to 0, then what we can do is we can say this, and at the end you need to add 1 extra 0, right? Because say for example, even if we had something like 9, then hexadecimal of 9 is still basically 9, and then you need to have a 0, right? So let's just console log this and see. Yep. So it expects 0, 0, and now we got this, right? So now if you notice, we need to do the same thing for our G and our B. So let's just do that. R, and then we have our G, and then here we need to do plus equal to, because we already have the R value, right? R, G, and then B over here, right? So let's just see this, and yes, it works out that way. So let's just return this and let's just test it out, right? So expected this to be equal to FFF. Why do we have 2? And also, if you notice, this is uppercase and this is lowercase. So what we need to do over here is say, or instead there we can say hex dot to uppercase at the end, right? So let's just see if we get bigger values. Yes. So now if you notice, everything is converted to uppercase, but we don't want this extra 0, right? We just want this. But why are we getting this extra 0? Because we are entering this, right? So what we can do is, let's just console log RGB for this, because I will be able to see what values are being passed. And I think it is this one, right? 300, 255, 255, and 255. Okay. So because it is 255, what is, so console.log hex. Let's just console log hex over there and see what we are getting. We have FNF. Okay, so we can do this instead of checking it over here. we will say hex is equal to so and so, and then if hex now is a string, right? So hex dot length equal to, or if it is not equal to 0, then what we need to do is we need to add this 0 at the end, right? Not equal to 2, sorry, not the way around. So now we need to do the same thing for everything else, right? Now we do it for G, and then we say if G dot toString, instead of G, we say hex dot toString dot length is not equal to, it will be 3 over here, because we already have 2 things over here, and then now it will be the third one, and then this is the case. And for the last one, what we can do is do the same thing. Here we have hex, and then we have how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, right? So we need to have 4 items. Now we need to have 5 items at this point of time, not 4. If it is, hold on. Here it's if it is not equal to 4, and here if it is not equal to 6, right? Let's just test this out. And yes, all test cases pass, right? Because obviously we are checking for every test case over here, and also we are trying to see if we have 2 digits directly from here, or if we just have 1 digit. If we have 1 digit, then we add a 0 at the end. Let's just attempt this. Amazing, we have an error. What is it? Didn't work on the following argument array. 12,206 expected C0 CED2 to be equal to. Okay. So what is hexadecimal of 12? Console.log. What is that? 12.2 string. Or we'll say, I mean, it shouldn't matter anyways. 12.2 string 16. What do we get when we do that? Okay, let b equal to 12. Okay, whatever, 13. I need console log. We get C. Okay, here is another example where you have OB instead of, okay. So any letter will appear only if, only starting from 10, right? 10 is A and 11 is B, 12 is C, 13 is D, 14 is E, and 15 is F, right? So if it is greater than, okay, what we can do is here, if hex is greater than 10, greater than 9, right? If x is greater than 9, then we can say that you need to add a 0 first, and then we can say this one, right? And then we can say else if. So we are going to do the same thing for everything else, starting from hex is equal to R till somewhere over here. So this needs to be parse int of factix hex comma 16, right? If that is greater than 9, then we do that. Yes, let's just remove this for now. And we are going to have this over here. And basically for, you know what, this is a bit confusing. What I'll do is, I'm just going to remove this logic. Just give me a moment. So what I'll do is hex equal to r dot convert r. Hex is equal to convert r, and then hex is also let's just say hex plus equal to convert r, convert g, and hex plus equal to convert b, right? And I'm going to remove this. So let's just create a function called convert. We are just going to name it a bit better so it's understandable. Convert hex, right? So we'll get value over here. And let's just say value dot to string 16. Let's just also declare a variable called hex, which is empty for now, and hex equal to value dot to string, and then we return hex, right? So we'll catch that over here. But now, after we convert this, if hex dot length is not equal to 2, then we say hex plus equal to 0, right? So let's just test it out for this as of now. Again, we are going to get this error, but I just want to see it for the initial test cases if this works out. Okay, reference error, where is it? Convert. Yes, now it should work. Expected undefined because we are not returning anything at the moment. Return hex, and let's just say hex dot to upper case over here. Yes, so initial test cases, everything works out, right? So this basic test cases for all of this, it works out. So something for the random test case, it is not working out, right? Why? Because, so if you see over here, it says 901C00, because we are saying if it is not equal to 2. So initially they are passing in some number, and we, for this, right, we are getting it as 0 and then 9. So what we can do is first we need to add 0 anyways, correct? Just trying to think how exactly can we do this. So we can say hex equal to 0. Then here we can say that hex equal to 0, and then let's just add this, right? Let's just see if this works out for our initial test cases. No. So is it only for our 0 test case? No, this has to be plus or equal to, right? Let's just test this out, and all of those pass, and then Yes, perfect. So basically, it was, I mean, I was just getting confused, like how exactly is this working? But once I got to know that, okay, you're adding it after and not before. I mean, you're adding it before and not after, then it was just swapping these two around, right? So that works out. So we've created a function and this made it a bit easier. Let's just do the same thing for the above checking method, right? Because if you see, we are performing the same thing, but it is just a bit longer. So let's just say function check, or let's just say round value, right? Or we'll call this check value. If it is proper, it's fine, or else it will return the same thing, or else we are going to return something else. We'll say value, and then it will get R, G, and B. And every time it needs to do the same thing, which is over here, right? So instead of R, we say value, and we replace R everywhere with R value, right? And then at the end of the day, we return value, correct? So now instead of doing this entire thing, what we can do is R is equal to check value of R. And then we can do the same thing for G and B, G and B, right? So this should work out. Let's just test it out first. Yes, it works out, and then we are going to attempt it, and that should work, right? So yeah, that was it. Basically converting our hex to, I mean, RGB to hex. Let's just submit it and see what other people have done. So if you notice someone over here, they are also declaring a function and then returning it, right? So they're saying D and then they're passing it every time. If it is less than 0, then you return this. If it is greater than 0, then you return this. This is pretty neat actually. And also return 0 plus number of D to string slice -2 dot uppercase. Yes. So yeah, you can do it this way, or there are other ways of solving it over here. You can see that as well, right? So here as well, you see almost the similar. I mean, everybody has almost taken the same approach. Of course, they have used string methods and math method as well, right? You don't really need to use this. You can do it just in a simpler fashion, like how I did, right? So yeah, that's pretty much it for this video, and I'll see you in the next one.